All right, I'm recording.
It's no blood, no foul. 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 Emotions spill on the court when you proud. To rep your city, New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepare me for.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. I'm your host, Slice, and I'm joined by my co-hosts as always, Cope, Jim, and Kyle. Also joining us tonight is our executive producer, Noel. You know, the game tonight was full of a little bit of everything tonight, from a big Knicks lead to a rain delay in an NBA game to then the Knicks blowing a big lead. But they held on to win 102-96 over the Toronto Raptors and get back to that 500 mark at 27 up and 27 down for the season. You know, the Knicks started and ended the first quarter on some runs, holding the Raptors to only 2 points in the last 5 minutes, heading into the second up 27-16. They then kept that momentum going in the second, getting the lead up to as much as 16 before ultimately ending the half up 56-42. Kyle Lowry led the Raptors at the half with 14, while Julius Randle had a big first for the Knicks with 17 points. You know, the Knicks then opened the third, extending the lead up to 18 before the Raptors cut it to 10 until we saw that previously mentioned rain delay. Once play resumed, the Raptors ended the quarter outscoring the Knicks 10-2 and headed into the fourth only down 78-76. The Raptors then took their first lead of the quarter early in the fourth, or first lead of the game, I should say, early in the fourth, getting it up to as many as only 4 before the Knicks were able to come back and tie it up. With the Knicks up 1 under a minute left, Julius Randle found RJ open in the corner for a big 3 to get the Knicks up 4, and Randle hit 4 clutch free throws of his own in what ultimately ended up being that 6-point Knicks win. You know, it almost seemed like the Knicks were going to choke away that 18-point lead they built up, but the team was able to bounce back from the stumble, and RJ Basket hit another clutch one to help seal the win. Coke, start us off with your thoughts, man.
Well, you already know where I'm going. I'm just going to take that cue. Once again, RJ Baskets. You know, he comes through, another big shot from the corner, and, you know, he's becoming very dependable from there. That was the knock on him that he couldn't shoot, so I want to keep the focus on him. You know, earlier this year, we were talking about, you know, his development, and we wanted to see him take a next leap in the second half and become a guy who can close out a game and hit big shots. Julius has been struggling lately, and RJ stepping up big time. So major kudos to the 20-year-old, man. I can't be happier with where he's going with his development. And as far as Tibbs, you know, we get on Tibbs a lot for his rotations and lack of adjustments. But, you know, as I said last podcast, I said I want to see more. I want to make sure his adjustments aren't a fluke. Well, you fast forward to tonight, I think Kyle's a happy man. We didn't get the results, but coming out of the second half, instead of going to Obi, they're going zone. So he puts in stretch for Kevin Knox. Now, you know, it didn't come to fruition, you know, with playing out correctly with Knox hitting some threes, but he at least tried. So he went to the well. And then again, in the fourth, you know, we see he didn't go to Peyton. So I'm sure everyone's happy about that. And we went to what I call the bottomless wings backcourt. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking no point guard, just going with all 3 wings out there. I'm talking about Burks, RJ, and Bullock. And, you know, you can also call them the killer bees, you know, Burks, Bullock, and Barrett. So, you know, we closed out the game with them. It almost burned us because, Burks threw a pass away. That was a crucial turnover, but it ended up being okay, and we pulled off the win. So shout out to RJ for keep coming through in the clutch, and shout out to Tibbs for showing he's willing to make some changes. Old dogs learning new tricks and making adjustments. Jim, give me your thoughts, man.
I mean, this kind of seems like a blatant tank job by the Raptors. I mean, you go zone for that whole. All right, we're back up. All right. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed like a blatant tank job by the Raptors. I mean, how do you go away from a zone that was so effective? Like, you honestly evaporated an 18-point lead by just playing a zone and just forcing us on the outside and having us trying to shoot outside shots, because clearly nobody can do that in the clutch whatsoever. I mean, what's happened to Pascal Siakam? I mean, he didn't even look like the same guy that he was last year. You know, he kind of turned into, he's like bad Randle all of a sudden. You know, he's like spinning into traffic, double dribbling the ball, bouncing the ball off his foot, and what an absolute mess. But the one thing that I did see that kind of got me a little excited was I saw RJ having a little chit chat with Kyle Lowry. I don't know if that means anything, But we kind of could use a point guard, and Kyle Lowry's still pretty good. So yeah, that was kind of like the only exciting thing that I really took away from this game. But yeah, it was. I mean, the fact that they didn't go back to the zone it sends a red flag that they weren't really trying too hard.
So Coke said that I'd be happy with Tibbs going to Knox in the second. Again, this is the kind of thing where like it's kind of weird because like I understand why he did it, right? I understand. Yeah, we need 3-point shooting, but man, it's got to be like just so mentally frustrating for Obi, right? Because he's starting to have starting to build some momentum, and even in the first half he looked pretty good. He got 3 rebounds. And then he had that putback, layup, but then he gets benched the entire second half. It's like he played 5 minutes. So, man, I just feel like it's kind of frustrating, and especially tonight, I think I would have liked to see Tibbs go to the Randle and Obi front court a little bit because the Raptors are pretty small in the front court. Like I know Boucher's kind of tall, but he's skinny. He's like
3-point shooting Noel.
Yeah, he makes Noel look like Drummond.
Jeez.
Hey, So I would have liked to see Tibbs at least try that, or just try something because I think Obi definitely deserves more than 5 minutes. I mean, it's not even like he was playing that bad tonight. Like if he went out for 5 minutes tonight and was just absolutely awful, then yeah, sure, why not? But he deserves to get some more. And like I said in the thread, I can't even really blame Tibbs for making this a close game with his rotations because like it was just he had no good options, right? So Peyton actually was our best guard tonight, which somehow that happens. It's rare, but it does. But you see, Rose doesn't have it. Quickly doesn't have it. I know he went through Burks down the stretch, but he wasn't having a great game either. There's really nothing you can do at that point, especially because if you put Peyton out there in the fourth, they're just gonna leave him open, and it's not gonna be good. I guess the only thing you could maybe say is, I mean, I guess he could try putting like Jared Harper out there, but like that's not that's not. I'm not gonna get on him for not putting Harper out there. That's not no. I may complain a lot, but I'll try to be realistic in my complaints. And then I think the only thing I have to say is Randle needs more rest. Like you definitely see it. He's tired at the end of games now. Like it's just really starting to catch up to him. And he did make the right decision on the end there to pass to RJ for the 3. And that worked out, but it was either the play before or to play 2 plays before that where he got double teamed and didn't pass it and caused his own turnover. So I think that's just the thing is like we're really starting to see Randle start to wear down, and it's really affecting him, especially late in games.
Wow,
So,
what a weird day that Kyle is defending Peyton and Obi.
I'm not defending Peyton. I'm not defending Peyton.
Same
I am
intro to the game.
I am not defending Peyton. Do not say that I'm doing that. He should not have been out there in the fourth. I will never say that. But the thing, and I'm not defending Obi in particular. I am, and I've been saying for a while like he does need to get more minutes, but it's more a fact of Randle needs rest more than Obi needs minutes. So we need to find some way of having Randle sit on the bench for more than 8 to 10 minutes a game because it's really catching up to him. And if we do make the playoffs, that's when you're really going to see it catch up to him after all the games. So that's the only thing I can complain about Tibbs right now.
What Kyle is basically saying is Tibbs is damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't.
Pretty much. We're just a bad roster right now. We have just no depth. There's not much Tibbs could do.
We went from too many power forwards to not enough power forwards, huh?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we need my guy Isaiah Whaley.
Let's not get that started again.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You guys are right, and I think the big thing about the Knicks that I'm noticing, and it kind of goes back to the no blood, no foul. They're playing hard, but I'm not getting the sense that they really have, other than maybe Taj, right? Somebody that really will go out and spill some blood and just be an attack dog. Even in the tone, right? When the Raptors went zone, they just kind of all as a collective just kind of mellowed out or just kind of faded away. still pulled out the win. That's good. But I think what they're looking for, what they could use, is someone that kind of leads by kind of just the emotion that they play with. And I'm not saying that. That's why, I know, Jim, when you said that they were talking to Lowry. If you guys notice at the end of the game, WWW, 3Ws, went right to Lowry, and they were talking. Even Leon Rose got on the court. So something was going on there. I could be reading up a little bit too much into it, but they were heading straight to Lowry.
I didn't notice that, but that's slick, as Clyde would say.
That could be a hint.
As Adam Silver would say, that's tampering.
Not in your home court. But I was like, wait, is that Leon Rose? And it was. He was wearing like a black Knicks blazer, like a sports blazer. And he walked right after WWW right to Lowry. Hopefully, that doesn't turn out to be anything bad. But yeah, I mean, as far as Siakam, wow. I think some of it is COVID. Right? They said he's recovering from COVID. But I think, I don't know. I get the sense, and I had this feeling kind of late last year, there was an interview he did just about the things he does off the court, and the tone that he had. It didn't sound like a guy that, came from, I don't want to say nowhere to really, be a big impact player, but it sounded like he was building and getting into a little too full of himself. So I don't know how much of that is impacting his plays, because he also had that blow up with Nick Nurse, right? Big blow up about not playing hard. So if you think about Siakam, he made his name by playing hard. So for his coach to call him out and pull him out of the game and not play him for not playing hard, that says something. So I don't know what's going on there, but luckily it's not someone of the Knicks. So
that's a good point.
That's my take. Yeah.
No, and I mean, hopefully, like you said, it might be reading too much into it, but the Knicks could use a point guard. Kyle Lowry was kind of one of those names that's out there, right? So it's one of those. Kyle Lowry's a tough player. Pascal Siakam's supposed to be that next superstar that was supposed to help carry the torch, right, for the Raptors' future. If he's not playing that hard, Lowry could be out. Sees the Knicks hustling. Let's keep that going. It's a good rumor to come out the Knicks way, right? Instead of something negative.
Right.
But I'll take Kyle Lowry here, just in the same token that you guys have mentioned. Taj Gibson, really 35 years old, right? The old man on the team is the only one who embodies no blood, no foul. Get a point guard in there, the whole mentality of the team changes. I definitely agree with that.
If you get Kyle Lowry, it'll be the two old men.
Yeah,
the two old men. But sometimes you just need some old dogs to teach some of these young guys, to lead some of these young guys.
I doubt that.
Sorry, Kyle. No, I know you like to lean younger a little bit, but you need some old heads every once in a while. I need some OGs on the team.
Yeah, bunch of you old guys out there.
Yeah,
I think Lowry as an option, 1B. I still think Lonzo should be there the first, first push.
Sure.
I don't know why. I don't know why
Gotcha.
Lowry would want to come here, just because, if you have the choice of going to Miami or the 76ers, I feel like that's the move that you should make. But I mean, I guess if you want to come and help us solidify a playoff spot, that's cool. I'm not going to be like, no, Kyle Lowry, don't come, because I mean he's a great leader, and he's always he's never really that high up on your basic normal stats, but all his advanced stats are usually like top 10 a lot of the time. So it's he's a high impact guy, and just having him around, and particularly RJ, because I feel like RJ is probably the one that needs the most mentoring, because he's got the biggest ceiling out of all of our guys. So if he wants to come, I'll take him, just because any extra ear in RJ's ear is probably a good thing.
It'll be good, something good for Quick too, I think, right? It's one of those situations where it doesn't really make sense for the player, but it's a great fit for the team. Yeah. So I like you said, I think all Knicks fans can agree with you. But I think I want to get back to one of Kyle's points. This would have been a good game for Obi to play a little bit more. The Raptors do have a small.
So you said Gary Trent Jr., right? I know he's been a big acquisition for them. I don't really understand. I don't fully understand why they would trade for him after trading away Norman Powell, because he's younger, but if your thing is, well, you're worried about having to pay Norman, you still have to pay Gary Trent. So that's my thing is I get it, he's younger, probably better. They're about the same right now, but you can say that because Trent's younger, he has a more ceiling, he can grow more. So I think that one's a little confusing for me, unless they think they can get him on a decently cheap deal.
Yep.
Well, I have a question. I know he's restricted. Is the guy who went? I forget his name.
Powell.
What's the guy?
Powell.
Norman Powell. Is he
Yeah.
restricted or is he unrestricted?
Well, he has a player option next year. Yeah, he's going to decline, so he'll be unrestricted.
So I think that's the difference.
That's probably
you can match Trent Jr. You can, you don't
Yeah,
control
but
the fate of Norman Powell.
Yeah, but how much do you want to pay Gary Trent Jr. though? How much do you want to match him for?
Well, that's the thing. Everybody was in love with the guy. Me particularly, I don't see it like he just like is Trent Jr. He's just like another Timmy Jr. So to me, I wouldn't give him a boatload of money, but maybe they're thinking a different way. Maybe they think he'll come cheaper, and they're in a position to match. Whereas with Norman Powell, he might just get like an astronomical number that they just think is a no-go, and he's a little older. So I think that's the rationale, the contract status.
Yeah,
because I mean,
still younger than Obi too.
I mean, I feel like Powell's going to get a boatload of money too. So it's like I feel like you'd rather lock up the 23-year-old or the 24-year-old or however old Gary Trent Jr. is. I feel like that makes a little bit more sense than the 27-year-old because you're going to probably have to pay them both $20 million a year for the honor to having a borderline starter player be paid $20 million.
So in that case, why even bother with either of them? Just don't go with either, and just
No, because you can get assets. I mean, if a guy's restricted, he doesn't have a choice. If you just match the offer, he has to come back, and then you can trade him 6 months later.
Well, it wasn't 1-for-1 though, right? They didn't trade Norman Powell for
Rodney.
No, they got something.
Rodney Hood Rodney Hood came
Hood
along as well.
He's washed up, but he just could
He's
be
Rodney Hood,
policy. That's an insurance policy. He signed a cheap deal because he was coming off the Achilles injury. He's been struggling this year, but maybe they think, since he's locked into a contract that's not too awful, maybe he can play his way back into it once he's healthy. That's yet to be seen though, because certain guys have trouble coming back with that Achilles injury.
Right.
A lot of guys have trouble coming back from that,
except for Kevin Durant for some reason.
Somehow. Of course, I did that one.
Yeah, Durant.
Of course, I was the big one on the Kevin Durant towards Achilles. We can't sign him now.
Yeah.
Of course, I was the one big on that. Oh, my God.
Yeah, he's the only one that shows up better somehow. It's like miraculous.
I still say though. I think if we had just gotten Kevin Durant and Kyrie, I think that's a lot more questionable of a core, in my opinion. But since the Nets have Harden, I think him and Durant are the ones that are making that one go.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Harden's so good. He's just so good.
I know.
It's very similar.
We're getting a little off topic here. We can save this for Brooklyn games.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm not really a fan of Kyrie.
Well, like I'm glad that we pulled this one out, but I was kind of going crazy that you kept Burks was pretty terrible all game. I mean, he did hit a couple big shots down the stretch, but I was kind of going crazy that he was decided to be the ball handler when RJ was so efficient, so good, and they just kind of stand off in the corner. I mean, it paid off because he hit that big three, but just give him he was the only efficient player on the squad tonight. It's give him more opportunities, give him more shots. I just don't understand how you could let this guy be 7 of 10 or whatever it was at one time and then not give him the ball.
So I know Move brought back a couple games ago about Burks's clutch stats, right? So I'm looking at stats.nba.com, right? I'm looking at the clutch stats. So, and I said this during the game is, I get why he has Burks out there, and I will trust Burks to make shots because he's very efficient in the clutch. I don't trust him to be the primary ball handler down the stretch, though. I would much rather have RJ with the ball in his hands down the stretch. Or
at least alternate it, just because Burks was 2 of 10 at one point, and he's taking mid-range jumpers in the paint, and it's that's not going in. You're cold, Yeah.
So here's why. So in 61 clutch minutes, this is including tonight, Alec Burks has 3 assists in 61 minutes. He also has 3 turnovers in 61 minutes.
Not great, Bob.
And RJ has 9 assists to 4 turnovers. So I just think to me, RJ should be the one with the ball in his hands, but you should also have Burks out there. So instead of Burks as the point, RJ as the 2-3, RJ should be the point. That's my only complaint about Burks as a closer.
Yeah, because on nights that he's hot, it makes sense. It's like, all right, fine, put the ball in Burks' hands, let him go create, because that's what he's good at. He can create ISO shots, and I think he's probably our best ISO creator, right? I mean, who do you, maybe Rose, I guess?
Quickly.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
quickly's clutch stats are pretty good too.
Yeah, but quickly
he's
is like
not the
no
most
mid-range
efficient
game,
guy.
really, though.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
So it's like
I think
struggling a lot too, man.
I think guys are getting too lost in the numbers. Like, when a team comes together, everyone slots into a role, and that's just what you do as a player and what you allow as a coaching staff. And I just think Burks is in that versatility role where he's going to slot into the point guard, shooting guard, small forward, whatever's needed on that particular night. He's going to be out there in the fourth quarter no matter how he's shooting. So I don't think okay, fourth quarter with the game on the line, we're not going to put the ball in Burks' hands because he's been cold on that night and RJ's hot that night. I just think it's about role. Burks is that versatility ball handler. RJ is the secondary scorer. Randle's the primary scorer. If they load up on Randle, Burks is going to have the ball and he's going to have a decision to make. And I just think that's the way it's playing out. I don't
trust Burks to make that decision though.
I mean,
that's saying.
You're saying that, but his clutch stats say something else, and you're the stat guy. But
his clutch stats say he's good at scoring. That's it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you win the game by getting buckets. So I don't think the plays are designed to distribute. The plays are designed to get a score. Whether he does it or someone else gets it because they converge on him, that's just a byproduct of what happens, of circumstance. But at the end of the day, he's out there to score. He's out there to make a play. But I just think that I don't think these guys go into the situations like we're going to change everyone's role based on the flow of the game. More often than not, the coach is going to stick to what roles were slotted in, across the season. They're going to look at the bigger picture and not, the short window.
I think it just leads to a little bit of my frustration of RJ being very efficient and then the rest of the roster not being very efficient, at least tonight. I mean, it happened in the last game too. It's I just want 12 shots is not enough shots if RJ is going to hit 7 of them. I want him to shoot 15. I want him to shoot 16 shots. Especially on a night like tonight. And it happens more often than not that I feel like RJ just kind of either he gets looked off or, they don't give him an opportunity to create with the ball in his hands. Because it's I understand that you guys have a pecking order, but he is the second option on most nights. And on a night that he's hot, he can be the first option. You should ride with it sometimes.
I mean, we want that as fans, but, just the way the game is played, think about 2 weeks ago, when RJ was back into a slump. No one would say this. So it's easily to analyze the game and be the Monday morning quarterback and say, we should do this or that. But just 2 weeks ago, you guys probably wouldn't want the ball in RJ's hands.
So, yeah, but that's
you just think about the bigger picture. You just think about the bigger picture though. Why should Burks be the de facto go-to guy at the end of the games in the big picture? Because he's a 29-year-old journeyman. He's fine, but RJ is the future of the team, and this season he has been good enough to deserve to be above Burks in the pecking order.
Because he has to grow into the role. If you listen to what Tibbs said, I believe Tibbs is a straight shooter, and he said at the beginning of the game, we don't give out anything; everything is earned, and I think he's going to be allowed this entire season to earn it, and he's earning it now. 2 weeks ago he wasn't earning it. I'm giving him kudos at the opening statement because he's knocking those shots down now, but before he wasn't. So I think we're going to see that reward come next year or maybe as early as the playoffs. But right now, he's still in the earning stage. I don't think you just rearrange everything off of a small sample size. I think guys... No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish that. No, I was just going to actually echo your point because I think it's also important to keep in mind. Most of RJ's baskets, right, that come in the clutch are off the assist in the corner on the wing hitting the 3. Alec Burks is there. He's able to create and break somebody off the dribble a little bit better than RJ Barrett is. RJ Barrett really goes north-south. He attacks the hole, which I really like, but he's not breaking anybody off the dribble, right? He's attacking the basket strong, and when he's getting his assists, they're either drop-off assists or he gets stuck in the paint and he finds somebody when the defense converges. Alec Burks, on the other hand, is able to break somebody off the dribble, create some separation to hit some of those mid-range jumpers on his own, while RJ needs somebody to create for him right now. And I think to your point, Coke, that's the earning of it. That's the learning of it. When we gave it to RJ to create, the Minnesota game, and it kind of put a chip on his shoulder. So, he missed the shot. Right now, he needs to kind of sit back, take the open shot that he gets, let somebody else create. And when he becomes a little bit better of a dribbler, able to create more instead of just attacking the basket hard, I think that's when you'll see a little bit more growth. So it's taking those baby steps. You know what I mean?
See, I hate that go to, oh, the players have to earn it, right? Because that only ever applies to the younger guys. Never applies to the older guys, even if they've been scrubs their entire careers. What has Elfrid Payton done to earn his role? Not much. What have like all these guys done? They haven't really done much. So like you can say, yeah, the young guys really haven't earned it that much yet. Well, neither have the vets, or a lot of them. So it's just that thing of like that. It's just a cover to be like, I feel more comfortable and I feel safer playing older guys, and I don't have really a logical reason for it. So I'm just gonna say, oh, the young guys haven't earned it yet.
But your point with that with go ahead, Cope.
No, just 1 second before we move on. I think it's context. With Elfrid, you're talking about playing time and starts. RJ starts every game and he gets a ton of playing time. He's tops in the league in playing time. What you're arguing, in regards to RJ, is the clutch shot, having the ball in his hand to make or break the play, to hit the game winner or to dish it off. Elfrid's not in those situations. He doesn't even play late in the fourth anymore.
What has Alec Burks done to earn that over RJ? If we're not just talking about this season,
player all year.
You said it's not about this season. It's about everything. You look at a bigger picture. What has Alec Burks done in his career before getting this season? That's what I'm saying about earning, because
what did RJ Barrett do before this season in his career to do the same thing? You know what I mean?
If it's all equal. So if it's all equal, then why does if it's all equal, then why does Alec Burks get?
Then you go by this season. Who has been better in the clutch? Like I'm trying to figure out the point. And we all want RJ Barrett to be that guy as Knicks fans, but you got to look at it before this season. If none of them guys earned it, then coming into this season, Alec Burks has earned it more to be the creator off the dribble. We all want RJ to be that guy, but Alec Burks right now is that guy.
I mean, for me,
it on the head. Well, on the head. It's the skill set. Burks was never a star player, but you know what he can do. The dude has always been able to get a shot. RJ didn't prove that last year. He was terribly inefficient. So I think that's the difference. The reason why Burks is afforded that luxury, he has people on, in the front office who knows what he can do. And that's in the assistant coach, the associate head coach. And that's also in our lead scout, Perrin. You know what I'm saying? So they know that. They know his skill set. RJ had to prove it. Burks already had that, on lock.
I mean, I guess just for me, it's just that RJ finished 7 of 12 today. I would just rather like to see the hot hand get used more. Like it doesn't matter if it's RJ or not. Like if it's Rose that's going off, like I want him to take those shots and have the ball in his hands. If it's Randle that's going off, I want him to have, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it necessarily has to be about skill set or the bigger picture. It's like in that moment, RJ was the best offensive player in this game. Why don't you let him be on ball a little bit? Because, I mean, he hit that big three. He obviously drove and kicked it out. I don't know who hit the shot. Was it Burks? I think Burks hit the three. He kicked it out. And just like, give him some of those opportunities, especially when he's the best offensive player on the floor. It's not like I'm not like asking you to take the ball out of someone's hands. He's second in the pecking order normally anyway. So I don't think it's like too crazy to be like, hey, you're the second option. You're hot tonight. Here's a little bit more on ball time. Go do something with it.
Right.
So with that said,
real
quick, Cal, it's a real quick point. So with that said, you don't want a rigid pecking order. You want the triangle. You want the ball to just want the ball to find, who the energy has it. You want the ball to just go wherever, the defense dictates to go. You don't want a guy who said, this is a firm number one, this is a firm number two. This third guy has to grow into the role because he's only 2 years into his career. Well, you're saying you just want on any given night, whoever has you want a socialist offense. Most NBA teams don't operate like that.
Socialist offense.
Remember that.
Viva la Revolution, comrades.
Yeah.
Moo, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my standpoint, it's Tibbs, right? I think Tibbs is kind of old school. He would prefer stability over anything else, and that just seems like his style. And what Burks gives you is that he's stable. He doesn't do anything necessarily flashy, but you'll notice whenever he makes a mistake, he's over it in like a second.
Yeah.
Right. And he's doing the same exact things. He'll look for openings. If there's an opening, he'll go. He may not be the fastest or the most explosive or jump the highest, but he knows when there's an opening, go. When there's an opportunity, he's going to make his move. That's kind of the thing. I think
you say if he sees an opportunity, if he sees an opening, he goes. If he doesn't see the opening, he still goes.
But yeah, true. No, but he, you know what he has? He's got a good feel for the game. Right? I think, from my standpoint, I think he's the smoothest guy on the team. Right, as far as the combination of everything, the dribbling, the shooting, just kind of overall where you need to be on the floor. Again, he's not, if he was, 25 years old, a few inches taller and a little bit faster, he'd be a superstar.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. But the reality is,
if he wasn't Alec Burks, he'd be a superstar.
Well, yeah. But I think it's the same rationale why Tibbs starts Peyton. It's not because Peyton does anything really well. It's just kind of Peyton is stable. Kyle, I hear you. I agree with you. I'm just trying to say what I think why Tibbs does what he does. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna finish your thought because I got a stat for our stat guy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the biggest reason, right? I think Tibbs has his routine. He knows what each guy does and doesn't do, and he expects it. Is he willing to grind? I think so. Right. I think with the rotation he has and the game style the style he plays, he's willing to grind. Because why? Because I think he realizes that's the players he has. His only shot to win, because he's got a low talent team, is to grind it. Right. Is to control the ball, not to turn it over. Right. You move the ball around, you get it to your top guys, but you don't want your top guys to do things they can't. Randle, RJ, they're our top guys, but they're not the most skilled ball handlers. So you want to try to make it easier for them so that when they do make the move to the basket, that they don't have, I don't know, they're not doing it from 20 feet out from the basket. It's a little bit closer to the basket. I think that's what he's trying to do. Doesn't always work. Why? Because he's got backup players starting, right? Yeah. But I think he's looking for stability, and Burks is a stable guy. Is a stable player. He's not great, but he's stable. That's my take.
No, for sure. And like I said, I got a stat for Kyle and for Jim here. Keep saying RJ had 7 for 12 in the field. You want him to get the ball more, right? 6 of his 7 field goals were assisted. The only field goal that wasn't was a layup. So he's not really creating off there. You know what I mean? He is not the creator where we're saying he should have the ball in his hand and do what he does. RJ gets a lot of his baskets getting the ball fed to him. So this game was one of those games where you can't really get on the cape of he's got to have the ball down the stretch. He's got to be the one creating. No, RJ was actually getting fed and getting the ball in rhythm and rotation. So I think that's kind of the big thing to look at. Yeah, as fans, we want our young player to go at it, and I get your point completely in that aspect. I want to see RJ as the guy, but 6 of his 7 baskets tonight were assisted. The guy doesn't need to be the creator. He just needs to get the confidence to hit the big shot. Then the next step in his progression when he gets older is having the ball down the stretch, breaking somebody off the dribble, hitting a step back, or getting, creating for his own. I think that's what you need to see, and just be a little bit patient. I know Knicks fans aren't patient, but that's the progression that you need to see from the player. Let the player fucking progress, man. Don't rush it.
I'm not rushing anything. Pass him the ball. If he's 7 of 12 and you got other guys
he's getting
7-20, like, come on, he needs more shots. I feel like it's crazy to defend. He was the only efficient guy on the floor. I feel like it's crazy to defend him not getting the ball more. I just think that's nuts. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna play off of it, just one final time. Let's do a hypothetical. Let's say RJ has the ball in his hands all day, every day, because we want to force feed him into being a star, right? Then he struggles the way, Tim Hardaway Jr. or back in the days of Jamal Crawford was, being force-fed into a position that they're not quite ready for. Then we kill the guy. Then we say he's a bust. Then we say he's not ready. I always like to simplify a young player's role, let him master that. I think it's a good thing that RJ doesn't dominate the ball right now, creating his own shot, because that allowed him to become a more efficient corner 3 shooter. If he always has the ball in his hand, maybe he doesn't make that leap to efficiency with that corner three this year or shooting off the catch. Right. So, let's appreciate the fact that he's now mastered shooting off the catch, hitting the corner three. And then next year, once he showed that he's clutch in that regard, then we put the ball in his hands and say, hey, go get me a bucket and win this game. But, as for me, I'm fine. Whether secondary or tertiary role, if the defense breaks down, he'll have his opportunities to win a game for you. But I don't think we should just be dumping it to the 20-year-old and saying, hey, carry us on your back.
That's what was happening early on, right? And then to Nick's point, right? That's what Terrence Davis gets over on the rookie team before he does, because you put too much on his plate and he doesn't succeed like he needs to, right? Vivek in the chat right now bringing up a good point. You can't really put too much on a guy's plate because then they struggle more. And now you see it not on the 25 under 25. He's progressing a great way. He's doing what he has to do, and we're not putting too much on him. This is the one time the Knicks are actually developing a young player really well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just asking for 3 or 4 more shots a game. I'm not asking I don't need him to dominate the ball or be the number one option. I need 3 or 4 more shots a game. Him having 12 shots is not enough shots.
Jim, you're
second
right.
most on the team, but
yeah,
what we could do down the stretch is just give it to Randle and have him facilitate because he's really good at that. If only he could do that down the stretch, right? That solves everyone's problems.
Randle's been struggling though with the facilitation. Look at tonight. They started doubling him hard late in the fourth, and he was just panicking, man. He was coughing it up, about to commit, several turnovers. I think he's kind of he's not being selfish as much as much as it's an issue of just not having ball security and just getting flustered. He doesn't look in control. And I think that plays back to what Moo was saying. Burks, even if he turns it over, it's going to be an unforced turnover. It's just going to be a mistake on his bad. It's not going to be because the defense pressured him and he panicked. So I'm kind of fine with, I think the players that are secure with the ball, as far as not coughing it up due to pressure, are Burks and actually Payton.
So I think what's happening with Randle is he's kind of getting into his own head a bit because, he made the All-Star team this year. We all talked about how great he is because he has been. I think he's kind of getting it into his own head of, man, I'm the All-Star. I'm the best player on the team. I have to do this. I think that's kind of getting to him a little too much. I think what he needs to do is he needs to step back. He needs to relax a little bit, let the game come to him. Just read the defense, make the right passes like he was doing earlier, and just take a second instead of just trying to be the hero. Because like you say, RJ is really good at off ball now. He hits from the corner all the time. So just tell Randle, hey, look around, take a second to breathe. Don't try and force anything, especially with how tired he looks out there towards the end.
Yeah, I have to agree. With Randle, it looks like he's still not quite comfortable being that star, and he's thinking that he's supposed to do something at certain points of the game rather than just instinctively doing it. So one of the things I've noticed is I think he overpasses sometimes early in the game where he should really just take it, right? And I think in his mind is that, let me try to get my teammates involved. But the reality is his teammates aren't that great other than RJ, right? So my take is, yes, I know he should distribute more, but he's got to feel the play better. And I think a lot of times he's passing when he should be taking it to the basket. And then he'll get into the cycle where the team gets, either down or the other team starts getting close and he feels like, no, I got to go take over. That's when he dribbles into 2 or 3 guys and turns the ball over.
I do have to say that there was a great moment. I forget when it was. I think it was in the second quarter where Payton bricked a 3 and we got the offensive rebound and someone passed it out to Randle behind the arc. And Payton is standing at the elbow from 3 wide open for a solid 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. Randle just doesn't even consider passing to him.
Smart basketball play.
Exactly. Yeah. If that was anyone else, I'd be like, oh my God, Randle, what are you doing? It was Payton. I was like, oh, good job, Randle. Way to go. That's the right play.
Yeah, I definitely think that's where we've seen the biggest regression in his game since the All-Star break. I don't know if it's just defenses are throwing something a little bit different at him now, but I feel like he was making the perfect play, making the perfect decision, every time. Often. Yeah, more often, where it's he would drive into the paint. And I think that's too, probably a little bit because he's getting tired and he might be a little banged up, is that he was able to get a little bit deeper position in the post, So he was like operating from, like that 10 to 15 foot range instead of that 15 to 20 foot range, which makes a big difference. But like when he was making moves and decisions before the All-Star break, it's either he was going to shoot or like he was going to make that right pass if the double team came right at the right time. And now I think he's like, I don't know if he's just like hesitating or he's like a step slow, but that's where I think you see the big regression from him.
So what's actually interesting is his assists have gone up since the All-Star break. He averaged 5.5 before the All-Star break. Since then, he's averaging 7.3. He's also significantly less efficient, and he scores 1.5 less points per game. So I think that goes to your point of he's really trying to kind of force passes.
Yeah.
And you see that his assist numbers are up, but it's not actually helping that much.
How about his turnovers?
Yeah, our turnovers up too.
I was curious about his turnovers.
Okay.
He was 5 assists and 5 turnovers tonight. So, and to Moo's point, he's not playing as instinctively, right? He's not reacting. Mm-hmm. He's more overthinking it, and the double teams are really getting to him because defenses were able to adjust.
Double teams and the non-calls and
his turnovers. It looks like they're a bit up. Yeah, I'm sorry, for Basketball Reference, they don't do turnovers per game. He had 120 in 37 games before the All-Star break, and he has 55 in 15 games since.
Sorry.
So with that, that's about about 130 in the same amount of games as before All-Star break. So yeah, they're up a little bit, not a ton,
right?
Not enough for me to be worried about.
I'm not a numbers guy, so I'm never gonna come across with that aspect. But being an eye test guy, I'm gonna tell you what I see with the difference in and why he's like having more trouble with the double team. Earlier this year, when he was getting double teamed, he was getting double on the catch. What I'm seeing now is he's being double once he puts it on the floor. They're coming after that first dribble, which disturbs your rhythm as a player. It's anyone who's played the game knows when you get double after putting it on the floor, that takes away your timing, that takes away your sight lines. It's a lot harder to see the open man and to make a decision. So I think that's the thing that advanced scouts have decided to do on him, and I think it's bothering him a little bit. The minute he puts that first dribble on the floor, they're coming hard.
That would make sense. That would be an adjustment that they've made towards him. I guess they figured out that if you cut too soon, his vision is good enough that he'll find them. But if you ask him to pass on the move a little bit more, maybe it'll get him a little crazier.
And so I think with that, the onus has to be on the rest of the players too to recognize that and move. Because if they're doubling you, you're not always going to be able to find the passing lanes. But if you're playing 4-on-3, you can if you move, you can find an open spot. They will be there for you. So you just have to find it. So it's also on them to help him out a little bit, but it is also on him to kind of start to realize what's happening and make his own adjustments. It's also on the coach to adjust too, but less so than the other players and Randle himself.
Yeah, like find him on a different spot on the floor or something like that, or like actually use him as a roll man. He was like, before he came here, I think he was one of the best pick and roll finishers in the NBA, like his last season with the Pelicans. And it's like,
I don't know why we don't do that.
Because
we don't have anyone, and we don't have any guards that's going to run a pick and roll.
Yeah,
we just don't. None of our guards are good at that.
It's bad every single night. Some other scrub point guard looks like the best point guard on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh my God! How lucky were we about Malachi Flynn stepping out of bounds? I mean, I completely forgot about talking about this until right now.
I didn't even. I saw that. I don't think he even stepped out of bounds. I think the refs are just trash.
Yeah, I don't think he stepped out either.
It was a call that went the Knicks' way finally, right? After a few bad calls that went against us, it was a phantom call that went the Knicks' way. But to your point, Kyle, all good teams. What's one of the key things that you see with them? Off-ball movement, something that the Knicks really need to learn, and what we don't really have too much of. But the opponent that we played tonight was the opposite of a good team. They've been awful all season, even with some players out. So, Colt, why don't you give us your scrub of the night for tonight, man?
Well, come on, man. Like I say a lot, you know where I'm going with this. Pascal Siakam, man. The guy
yes.
He's on the back of a milk carton now. This is not the same player that we saw 2 years ago, with Kawhi Leonard being the second banana, looking like he was like destined for stardom. I don't know what's happened, but he's just regressed now 2 years in a row. And then you just look at, this game specifically, 5 for 18 from the field. And no play was more egregious than when he had a fast break opportunity, and he just panics and he pulls a discontinue by traveling, by stopping his dribble, picking up the ball,
Right.
and putting it back on the floor. That was just an awful play. And I feel like that play alone just underscores and epitomizes his entire season.
Dude went from spicy P to bland P.
Call him Mayo P. Here's another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about that I noticed in the first half, and I ended up looking this up too. I feel like Reggie Bullock has turned into like a real shooter. You know how like we always used to call him like kind of like a fake shooter? Over the last month, he's been shooting about 45% from three. If he can, like, I mean, that's a huge improvement from where he was last year. And it's like actually been very beneficial to have him out there because like he usually kills us by not hitting any momentum shots, and now he's starting to hit them. His like I feel like it's been a big deal, and he's been more useful in that improvement in shooting.
I used to be annoyed by him. You know, I used to call him a fake shooter. He's earned my trust. You know, I feel like maybe a lot of guys don't want him back, but I'm one of these dudes that I'm big on continuity. I'm big on chemistry. I wouldn't mind him coming back. Maybe just reduce his role a little bit more if we can get a better guard or a better wing in.
Yeah.
But I feel like you just have him on a team. He's a great player to like be a security blanket if someone gets injured. You know he can step in on the wing. Now you know he can hit shots. Still can't put it on the floor because, again, he had his Pascal Siakam moment.
Yeah.
where he pulled the travel in the same regard. But still, you know, if you ask me, if he comes back cheaply, I won't be upset.
Yeah, so I actually now that he's gotten consistent with his shooting, you know, I'm a pretty big fan of his. I think he can be like that sort of fifth starter if you have a good enough rest of the four.
Yeah,
because he just hits threes and plays defense. So he's actually been remarkably consistent this year. So in the first 5 games in December, he shot 31% from three. Since then, every single month he's hit 40%.
Wow.
And starting so 40% in January, February, March, and in April now. This isn't including tonight. He's at 47.5%. So if he stays a consistent 40% shooter, like that's a good guy to have on your team. Even if you would like to have a better player than him start, but he can fill in just fine.
Yeah, he's definitely gone from like annoying, like kind of just rotation guy that you have to start to where he's like a bearable as a starter. Like just at that 40% mark from three, that it's like a huge difference between that and like 37. You know what I mean? Like those, it wouldn't seem like that would be that big of a difference because it's only 3% differences, but it makes a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, if this team can get a high-end shot creator, Bullock is kind of the perfect guy to have. You know, he'll just park himself on the wing somewhere, right, and catch and shoot. That's what he does. He plays solid team defense. You know, he's not going to kill anybody with his defense. And that's where that is. I would be fine with him back. Number one guy I think they should bring back is Burks.
Yeah.
Right. So because he really does. He's kind of the multi-skilled guy that, you know, as you go, you could bring him off the bench and he could be like your seventh man or whatever, right? And backup point guard, shooting guard, small forward, and he'll do all of that stuff, right? So that's the one guy I want back.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
Why would you re-sign Burks when you can just draft James Bucknight?
So I mean, we might end up looking that way, to be honest with you. But my thought was to bring back Rose, Bullock, and Burks, and like use that to like hold on to that max cap space. Like only see if they would come back for 1 year and hold on to that max cap space for Levine next year when he's ready to leave. That's what if they were willing to take one more 1 year deals each. I think that would be ideal if we could kind of like roll it back and like grab Lonzo for next year.
So Jim, you said something about Bullock, or Moose said something about Bullock being better if we could get that primary playmaker, right?
Yep.
I think he would also be better if we could actually had good ball movement in general, because we don't. Here's how I know. So during the broadcast, Mike Green said something about us being towards the bottom of the league in assists per game, and he mentioned that it was probably because of our low pace. Well, I mean, yes, that's true. That doesn't help, but even when you account for pace, we're still, I think, bottom 3 or bottom 5 in the league in total assists. And even when you account for not making shots, we're the second worst team in the league in potential assists. That's how many times you get the ball and you could get an assist. So the only team that's worse than us is the Blazers in that regard. We're also dead last in secondary assists too.
But
we
it's
just
not
don't
even
pass the ball.
Yeah, it's not even pace because I think 2 out of the 5, 3 out of the 5, 3 out of the 6 top slowest teams, they're top teams, right? So it's really not pace, and I don't think it's necessarily assists per game because I think a few of those teams are also towards the bottom. It's just being able to make shots when you need to and having guys that can create their own shots. I think 2 of the teams I was looking at that stat. I think the Suns is one, the Nuggets are another. They're both surprisingly not fast-paced teams, I believe, if my memory serves, and they're tops in the NBA right now. Right, so it's not necessarily pace; it's just being able to finish and create shots. Right.
I wonder if they have more movement shooters than we do, because I feel like you could run Jamal Murray and Mikal Bridges off screens and stuff like that. I feel like if we had anyone that could be a movement shooter, because it's like our 5 best scorers are kind of isolation guys. I mean, like RJ is now an elite catch and shoot guy, but I'm not running RJ off a screen to hit a shot. Like I'm going to just park him in the corner. I think the same goes with Bullocks. I think same goes with Burks. Maybe if we went and got Redick or somebody like that would help us out in those potential assist areas, because then we would have people running off screens.
Well, you know what the biggest difference is?
So to your point about the bottom pace guys. So the bottom 6, I'm going to say 6 for a reason, are us, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Heat, the Mavericks, and then the Suns.
Wow.
So
all good teams.
Yeah.
It's all good teams. But the biggest thing with the Suns and the Nuggets, to Moo's point, is the Suns have a point guard in Chris Paul who can really distribute the ball and create for others in a half-court game, right? The Nuggets, their best facilitator is Jokic. Again, somebody in the half-court game who can facilitate well. The Knicks, we don't have a big man outside of Randle who can facilitate. He's not a facilitator, right? He's the de facto guy because he's the best player on the team. And the Knicks, there's no point even laughing about having a point guard anywhere near the level of Chris Paul in our freaking history, basically going back to Walt 5. That's basically
that is disrespectful to Walt, all right?
Going back to Walt, we have nobody that's ever been in that elite level of a point guard. So to compare ourselves to that team in terms of pace and then the assist factor, you have 2, in their respective positions, the best half-court facilitators in the game right now in terms of, as a point guard and a center. So, the Knicks it's a lack of talent, and it's a team overachieving because the coach brought them in and things like, and kind of that factor there. But, let's take a look forward into the next game. We talked about 2 West Coast teams who are pretty good. We got another one coming in, albeit now they're on a downswing with injuries, although they just beat our crosstown rivals by 25 points last night. So the Lakers come into town. Colt, kick us off with your prediction, man.
This one is scary. I'm going to keep it real because we're coming on the second night of a back-to-back. And we tend to play down to the competition. This is not the same Lakers, as earlier this season. They might have been like really hyped up to play Brooklyn. I'm not so sure if they'll be so jacked up to play us, but we could play down to the competition. So it could go either way, but I am going to go with a win. I'm going to go 3 in a row for the Knicks, actually. We're going to continue this homestand in a positive note. So I'm going Knicks over the Lakers, man, at the Garden.
I'll go
Jim,
now.
how about you?
I'll go now, and I think we're also going to win. But I think we're going to look at a game kind of like similar to like this one, where it's like they're going to like switch up into a zone or something along those lines, and we're going to like go from like blowing them out to all of a sudden it's going to be a nail biter. But I think we're going to still pull it out in the end for a W.
So I have a serious question. Do you guys think Alex Caruso would be the best point guard on our roster?
Yes.
Maybe.
No.
Best ball handler.
Well, got every choice.
He's a bum, man.
Yeah.
So are our point guards, man. What do you?
If he was on the Knicks, you guys would be killing him. No.
Yeah.
I think the corpse of Rose is definitely still better than Caruso.
He'd be Ron Baker all over again.
Yeah, but with less hair.
Don't disrespect Ron Baker like that. Don't disrespect Big Bird. I don't know. I just empathize with him as a fellow balding white guy in his mid-20s.
Wait, hold on. So, Kyle, you're telling us you're balding?
Yes, it's really bad. Why do you think I wear this hat? Yeah, I know. I hate it, dude. It's
Take
so
the hat
bad.
off. Let's see. You got to show us now.
Nah.
Word,
This hat, this hat is like Coke's mask. It stays on.
We'll send you some Rogaine foam. Hopefully, we'll get a sponsor for them or something like that later on.
Castor oil. It's an Indian trait. Just rub some castor oil on there.
We'll send you some.
You guys are talking about like prevention. I'm talking about like it's already half gone.
No, that'll help throw you out, man.
We'll send you some of that spray paint Boozer used to use.
Yeah.
Yo, Kyle can't make no more young jokes, man. If he's the youngest dog. He's the youngest guy on the cast with the least amount of hair.
All right, anyway.
All right. So, Kyle, your predictions?
I was going to say, Kyle just went on a Russo rant about his hairline. We got all about the next game.
Kyle's prediction is
maybe that's why LeBron likes him so much.
Yeah. Kyle's next prediction is that he will be bald by the time next season starts.
I will. Do you know how close I was to actually just saying screw it and shaving it all down?
You gonna put the buzzer out?
Oh yeah, it's happening.
According to Joe Rogan, that's the thing to
next
do.
Year, yeah. Don't compare me to Joe Rogan, man.
Wait, you don't want to be $100 million richer?
Hey, you guys ever do drugs, man? Drugs are just the best, right? I'm talking about like MDMA. There's my Joe Rogan impression. Buy our brain juice.
I'll be here all week.
Last podcast because of Coke's mask. Now we're talking. Oh man, I didn't see him in the notes. I didn't see him in the comments today. I think we talked. I think the drug talk might throw him off this time. But Kyle, you actually gonna make a prediction? I know you don't like.
I don't
you're
have
just gonna
to.
keep pushing it off.
Nah, y'all told me I don't have to, so I won the bet, and I guess we lost the bet, but I won it, so I don't got to make predictions.
Soft. Move.
Except they're gonna beat us.
Give us a thought.
I'll go with the Knicks. I think they're at a point where they're not going to lose games like this. It might be close. I think it'll be another close one. All right. I want to show you guys something. You guys see this? This is my blood pressure medication. I take it every single day as a Knicks fan. So yeah, I've come to terms with the Knicks always keeping it close. But unlike the Knicks of the past, not rolling over and playing dead. So I'm going to go with the Knicks in a win. It'll be a close one. And, same thing, like 3, 4, 5 points.
Another close win. I'm hoping it's not a close one. I think the Lakers, they got their emotional win out the way. They got their momentum. They might be a little bit drained out. Plus another night in New York of partying. Hopefully J.R. Smith came to visit and took them out, showed them a nice time in the tri-state area. So I'm thinking the Knicks actually win a convincing game. I think we'll get the blowout win. Andre Drummond will come out to find out why we didn't want him in New York, even though I think he's going to bully Nerlens Noel down low. But I think the Knicks will win. I don't think it'll be a close one. I think the Knicks will ride the high of momentum, and it'll be a nice back-to-back homestand in New York. But let's wrap it up, fellas. Colt, kick us off with your final thoughts.
I just think we're taking baby steps, man. I think Tibbs is starting to show a little flexibility with, being able to go away from the rigid lineups. He's exploring a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? He's playing to matchups, so let's hope we continue to see things like that. Like we already broke down to, a whole bunch tonight. RJ, he's maturing into the guy that we want to see continue to develop, and let's just hope he stays on that path. Let's not rush him. Let's let him pick his spots and just continue on. And, hey, let's keep racking up these home wins on this homestand, and let's try to make up a little ground. So I'm going to keep that positive outlook and keep chucking forward.
Jim, let's swing it to you, man.
My final thoughts. It's, you know what? The Raptors have kicked our butts for years now and like run us out of the gym multiple times. So even if they're like, the embers of a championship team, the scraps, the leftover, it's felt good to win. It did. It's like we finally got one over on them, and they can't talk smack. And yeah, that's all I got.
They're like the Dark Souls of the championship teams, yeah. The world is all depressing. That's a joke for all you gamers out there. I mean, I don't really have much more else to say, but do you guys know that Tracy McGrady is actually 9th in blocks for the Raptors all time?
That's a fun
He was a
fact.
good. He was a good. Yeah.
He was only there for like for 3 years, and
Yeah,
he barely played the first 2 years though. That's kind of incredible to me.
Who
Like
is it?
that was like
Camby, Bosch, and McGrady.
Camby's up there. Bargnani had more than Camby.
Wow.
Bosch, Amir Johnson, Valanciunas, Vince Carter was 4th, but he played there for like 10 years. So yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like, I was like, man, like because what got me is that T-Mac was only there for 3 years, and he was really only like getting a lot of minutes his 3rd year. So that's just wild to me.
He was one of my favorites in the early aughts. T-Mac. I was a big T-Mac guy. I was sad that his career kind of fell apart, but it was fun.
It was just the injuries. I remember seeing him with Toronto, and thinking this is the fastest guy I've ever seen getting to the basket.
Yeah.
And this was in his early years, and it was just wow. And I've been watching basketball since the 70s, so that says something.
He was just so effortless, right? Remember Jeff Van Gundy said he never practiced, he didn't try, didn't look like he cared, but he could come in and drop buckets on everybody.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Like my earliest so because I didn't get into basketball till later, so like my earliest thing with the T-Mac was I had an old 2K. I think it must have been around like 07, 08. I would always play with the Rockets because they had Yao Ming, and me being a stupid idiot kid thought, oh, he's tall, he shoots threes, right? So I was never any good at it.
Oh man, I don't even know where to go with that. Mo, what are your final thoughts? After 2K exploits.
I was reading some of the articles, and one name that popped up, and I was like, oh, he might be a good ad for the Knicks right now, right? Because we're past the trade deadline, obviously, and the buyout deadline I think is over as well, right? So the only options in case of injury are guys that are still free agents, right? So one guy whose name came up, I think it was one of the guys at Daily Knicks mentioned it, was former Queens native.
Born Ready?
Huh?
Lance Stevenson? Is that who you're about to mention?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, his nickname's Born Ready, I think.
I was like, part of me was like, no way. The other part was like,
That would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun, right?
He's from Brooklyn, but he'll
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was thinking about our test.
Yeah, he'll mess up the locker room though, man.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm good on Lance. There's a reason he's not in the league anymore.
It would definitely be fun, but it would definitely ruin the chemistry at the same time. So it's would I want to see the train wreck? Yes. Do I want it necessarily on my basketball team? Possibly.
Well, that's why I had the little angel on one shoulder and the little devil on the other shoulder, debating it. But I think back to the Knicks. Randle, I know he's beginning. Folks on the board, they're beginning to panic and saying, "Well, bad Randle's back. Let's trade him for a dozen donuts or bagels or whatever."
Yeah.
Right. I think folks need to realize this is year one. Right. The same way it's really full year one of RJ. This is year one of Randle as a star. Where he's only 26 years old. Right. And he's playing with no point guard. Right. The worst starting point guard in the NBA, maybe in the past 30 years. I don't know. So I think it shows that he's still learning and growing into his role and his job, right? His position and all the things that he can't be. So I'm not worried about it. Right. I know he's tired, or he may be reverting, or he's turning things over. But I'm more excited about next year and the years after that. Where hopefully with a real point guard, he'll just keep developing. Right? Same way RJ will. It's a good core to have. I think that's really, regardless of what the Knicks do this season, I look at that, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Right, $70 million or $60 million in cap space. These two young guys still growing into their futures, and I think that's a really positive outlook for the Knicks and for any Knicks fans to have. We're playing with house money right now this season. Whatever they do is what they do, right? But they've got two young guys that they can build around, and a lot of cap space, a really good coach, and a top-notch front office, right? So look forward, be positive, right? It's too negative, I think, right now with a lot of fans, right?
I'll be positive. I'll be positive. I'm positive Elfrid Payton sucks.
That's the one definite. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I haven't been posting as much because there's been so much hostility
Yeah,
Like,
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Oh, Nick fans being negative and overreacting to every little thing can't be us,
That can't
right?
be us. Yeah.
Can't be us, right? Can't be a toxic fan base. But
Right.
yeah, Moot, to your point, right? The worst starting point guard since the Knicks tried it out, Alexi Shved at starting point guard. So the
I'd
Knicks
rather
are
have
pretty
Shved
much
right
down
now.
there.
Yeah, I think I would rather have Shred too.
What's Jose
I mean,
Calderon up to?
Yo,
He's
Isn't
out
that
there
back?
playing in Barca. He's out there playing in Barcelona with Pau Gasol.
but
He's a
check
free
this
agent,
out.
right?
In preseason, if you told any Knicks fan where we would be at right now today, every single one of them would sign off on it. You know,
Yeah.
they'll
Not
be-
every single one of them.
They'll be
Someone would be
completely happy.
someone would be like, wow, we should have tanked harder for that.
Well, yeah, you know, except for the tankers. But
Yeah.
for anyone who's talking about development or year one and, you know, getting back to building a culture and legitimacy, you know, they would all sign off on it. So, you know, half these guys, when they just start talking crazy, emotional or whatever, you know, they just got to take their pills, man. That's all I got to say. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing that went down this year that can make me mad about anything.
Right.
This year has been a success, even if we lose every game, you know, to close out the season. We've already shown enough that should, you know, gain some positive equity with free agents and, you know, just players across the league in general.
Yeah, we have a foundation. When's the last time you could say we've had a foundation?
Yeah, facts.
I mean, even before the mellow years, like, I guess kind of, you know, with Gallo and Chandler and stuff like that. But like, I think RJ and Randall have higher ceilings than that.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yep.
we like actually have pieces to move forward with, and it should be super exciting. So
Yeah, some people will always complain just to complain, right? You can't. That's always going to be every time in every fan base. But you got to like what you're seeing. Like you said, I don't think any of us realistic fans would have thought we were going to be where we're at right now. And especially, you know, just about a week ago, right? A week and a half ago, we were 4th seed in the East. So you got to take it, and it's definitely a good year one with Tibbs. But you know, talking about tonight and wrapping it up, the Knicks played some good basketball for the first 30 minutes or so of the game. You know, before that rain delay of all things in an NBA game seemed to take them out of it temporarily. Before RJ Basket, as he's now known in New York, hit that clutch shot to seal the victory on the first night of the back-to-back. You know, so like we said, the Lakers come to town tomorrow night, so hopefully the Knicks end the homestand on a win. We thank everybody for tuning into this edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. Make sure to hit that thumbs up if you like what you hear, as well as subscribe. We'll see y'all tomorrow night, and we out.